on a mountain where the cold wind blows. We can talk about your drink and what you think. Here
and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our last podcast of 2024. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me is my MI6 co-host, who has once again failed to not surprise us, Simon Winch.
Thanks, Billy. Good
to see you again. It's been a couple of weeks since we had a show up here.
My agent status has now made it over to the UK, thanks to you in large. Now the cover is blown over there. Thank you very much.
What did I have to do with all that?
Someone was listening to a bloody podcast.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I figured that'd been the case a long time ago.
Dear, oh dear.
Maybe it just came out now. Maybe it's a thing over there now. Maybe there's like a pub somewhere, I don't know, whatever town he's from, that's now opened up and it's just a dive bar, but it's got like 15 people that enter, and it's like a hooligan club for listeners of the show, you know.
And they have a listen party just like they do for soccer matches.
Yeah, every week they show up, and if we don't have a show that week, like last week, we skipped because it was Christmas. They just go back and listen. Oh, we're going to bring back the 2024 best show, you know. So if you all over there in the UK doing that in a dive bar somewhere, we appreciate you, and give us a shout out, because we'll come over there and join you at the dive bar one of these days. I think it'll be a phenomenal opportunity.
They'll listen to Topher's.
Absolutely.
Listen to Topher's episode again.
Absolutely. And actually, probably the man of the hour here today is our buddy Chip Slate, being libertarian, and I say that because you got your page back this week. What a powerful opportunity that just created.
Now, is that through the process of appeal, or talk us through it, Chip? I mean, I'd love to know how you got to get a jail-free ticket. I need lots of them.
We've had constant appeals going. I've been surprised that we've been able to continue appealing, because every time we get denied, we just wait a little bit and appeal again. But they just send us to a different company, and I believe it seems pretty clear at this point they keep funneling off to third-party people to be the people who actually verify this stuff. And so
third-party arbiters.
Right. And
that's going to work well.
And we get a different person every time. And, we finally got somebody who looked at it and said, oh, yeah, I think there was a mistake made. And so here's your page back after a year and a half.
Wow.
We get all 950,000 followers back.
We'll get you to 1 million soon. So if you're listening to this, go give Being Libertarian a follow on Facebook, because that's where so close to 1 million over there. I think are we knocking on 70 or 80 on Facebook? 80. Okay, so here in the next day or so, we should be at 80 on Facebook, moving in on 40 on X, and close to 35 on Instagram.
Think where we were last year.
We were
in
this time of year last year. I think we were 15 or 20 total for all.
Exactly. What does that tell you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, we're up ungodly amounts.
That's insane.
It's wild. It's been fun.
Scalding hot right
and
now.
then Chip, you all are like close to 300 on Instagram, 300 or 400 on X, right?
No, we're about 322,000 on Instagram and 260,000 on Twitter.
Okay.
So, but this page just dwarfs all of it. So it's a new world getting this page back.
It's funny you
that's
say
fantastic
that,
news,
because I've been going just in circles, losing my mind trying to figure out how to get our monetization process working on Facebook, because I didn't even know we were part of it. And I looked down one day and they're like, well, you're eligible for this or this, but all this tax info, somehow it got screwed up in the beginning, and I could not go in there and edit it for nothing. It was forcing me to do all this kind of stuff. And so finally I got an email back, but every time I would do a reply, somebody new would send me another email. So like Brian would send me the first one, and I'd reply to Brian, and then Susan would answer, and then I would reply to Susan, and then Baruch and wherever would fucking, say, yeah. So it was weird. Like 3 or 4 people were monitoring, my situation or whatever. Just wild. It's wild. It's
corporate continuity.
None.
Why is it so hard? What is it about this?
It's digital, mate. That's what's done it.
Mm-hmm. What is it about this timeline that customer service just went out the window? Because it used to be, if you ever had an issue, you'd call into the company. These are some of the biggest companies in the history of the world with their clientele, with their base. And you don't even got a freaking call center. You can't put a call center up somewhere and employ 1,000 people to go in, and just like Dish Network used to do, just like DirecTV does. Like, why? Why, with the money you're generating and the low overhead you have compared to most other businesses, at least in your, oil, there's so much overhead. You know, with you, your overhead is what, buildings and servers, a few of those. So why not? Why can't we have call centers? Why can't we have somebody?
Digital age, brother. Get used to it.
They're not required to. I mean, that's the bottom line. They're not required to. They're not going to.
You know, you become part of an algorithm. At the end of the day, hate to say it.
As long as their advertisers are willing to pay them, that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot to talk about the future of podcasting and stuff. I think this business is about to get very saturated because we'll get into that here in a second because that's a topic I want, because we're going to do this is our year-end review show, and who better to have joining us? Of course, Amos is under the weather. A few weeks ago, he was broke back. And this week he's whatever sinuses or something, so we want him to come in here. Everything's going around now because everybody's all gathered for Christmas and traded off their diseases and germs. Everybody's taking them back.
There was a big pass around at 5 points, I think, with the Crawford and Power show.
Yeah.
So I started to feel the tickle, and what did I do? Elderberry.
There you go.
Got a load of elderberry.
Amos has been on the elderberry.
Oh, yeah. Heather made it for him. Yeah, Heather made it for him. He'll be right as rain.
Well, you should recognize that voice right there, but you probably don't, because this is the guy that we've spent a total up into now, I think 8 hours, maybe even 12, and trying to get him on the show. And I think in return, we might have gotten 45 minutes, maybe. I think the last time you were on, probably the last sound they heard from you was a thump on the floor.
I did pretty good at the...
That's right. You were here last 4th of July, too. Okay, give him credit.
Taking Henry around on Callaway and giving him a full-on tour, because who better to give a British citizen a tour around 4th of July than a hooligan like myself.
He hasn't stopped talking about that, and that was how many years ago now?
I guess 2017, maybe?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, yeah, we've probably mentioned Caleb on the show.
He was absolutely polluted. He's never been the same since. Henry, as your godfather, I apologize profusely for just making the introduction. It was just one of those things that you will have to bear and live with for the rest of your life.
Yes, I'm glad I was the one that got to taint him.
You did a fine job.
So, yeah, we got Caleb in the studio, and I guess last time we had you on, you've made a pretty much, I love where you're living at now, so you're out in New Mexico, not Texas anymore.
Yeah, I made the move to Tiburon, New Mexico, and it is a little paradise, a little small community, maybe 300 permanent residents there. It's nestled in, it's a 10,000 acre community, right surrounded by the Lincoln National Forest in Otero County, New Mexico.
Now, he sends me pictures occasionally. I like sharing them on X, because it really is kind of like the Appalachia of the West out there, because you see the mountains, they're shaped very similarly to the Appalachian Mountains. Or a lot of rugged. A lot of it's pine.
A bit more rugged.
A little bit more rugged, but once you get walking up in there, they're a lot like the mountains here, but a lot more rocky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once you're getting to the top, it's a lot more rocky. The oak trees are tiny. There's a lot of scrub oaks, and then one of the biggest oak trees I've seen is maybe 15 inches in diameter, an oak tree.
Wow.
But now I've seen some other trees like the firs and the spruces and all that. They're massive. Ponderosa pines, alligator bark juniper.
I think that's the biggest difference at first glance, is the lack of the traditional hardwoods that we have here on the eastern seaboard.
Not a lot of deciduous trees.
Yeah, as opposed to all the firs and coniferous trees.
So how in with the community are you already?
He's only got one bar in where he lives, let me tell you, and I had to point this out very quickly. But Caleb already figured this out himself. With a one-bar town, you have to behave.
Yeah, very much so. So I moved up there Labor Day weekend, went and visited that place the weekend before, and I've been told by multiple people in the community that they're glad to have me. One guy in particular, he
give it time.
He told me, he said, but he told me, he said, Caleb, I'm an asshole. Everybody knows I'm an asshole, and I don't say this to many people, but I'm glad you're here. He said, I like you.
Right on.
and I've met quite a few people, mainly because of my job. I'm doing telecommunications for Dell Telephone and installing internet, fiber optics.
Skill for life.
Yes, Skill for Life.
Excellent.
It's the largest independent telephone cooperative, largest area than any independent telephone cooperative in the United States.
Wow. Well, that's where they're going to do it down there, New Mexico and Texas. That's where your
When he calls me on the phone,
right?
it's wild listening to it because, like, to get up there, I mean, we think we're rural up here in Callaway, and we are, comparatively speaking, but there, it's like, 45 minutes on a dirt road just to get there?
Well, it's a paved road to come into town from Cloudcroft, but it's a 45-minute drive through the National Forest just to get there. So the closest gas station is 45 minutes away, about 30 miles. Yeah. And then the closest grocery store, which is another town, Alamogordo, New Mexico, that's about an hour and 15, hour and 30-minute drive to the grocery store.
You plan accordingly.
I bet there's a lot of growing in that community and self-sufficiency and farming. And
a lot of greenhouses for all sorts of things. Yeah, I'll just put it that way.
Roger that.
Yeah, there's a lot of growing.
This could be the very first podcast to ever talk about this little town. So I think you need to, when you get back, you need to tell everybody to listen to it. Say, hey, man, we got to. Is that what you're planning on doing the music festival too?
Yes, it's beautiful. I mean, it's like if you look around the mountains, it's like a giant bowl surrounding where we're going to do the festival. We're going to try and get a few bands from here and then some local bands out there. And they used to do a festival out there every year. And then after COVID, they quit doing it. And I'm the first one to kind of bring it up and try to make it happen. So hopefully we can get enough sponsors to get everything taken care of.
Virginian making it happen.
That's right.
In New Mexico.
Yes.
I like it. That's got a ring to it.
It's gonna be interesting. It's not gonna be like any other festival I've done because it's the way the area is. We're gonna have there's a lot of Airbnbs.
That'll help
that people can stay in. Then we'll have some tent camping. There's some parks that we have in the community.
What about RV parks or plugins and all of that good stuff?
There are a couple of RV parks where people can bring their RVs. And then, like I said, there are the Airbnbs that you can rent a spot to put they have houses and spots you can park your camper.
Oh, right.
There's the town next to us, Cloudcroft. There's park, and then there's a lot of spots in the National Forest that are very close that are just pull off spots with campsites that people can go stay in. It's just a little piece of paradise just nestled off in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures you've sent, it looks absolutely gorgeous.
And once you leave out of Tiburon the back way, it's to get to the next city. Well, there's a town kind of not far from there, Pinon. I've only been through there once, but when I travel to our main office in Del City, Texas, it's about an hour and 45 minute drive down a dirt road.
Good Lord.
Like you start off in the mountains, you're running 15, 20 miles an hour. And then once you get through the mountains, then you go into Fort Bliss missile range and you go through there.
Oh, so you're a moving target at that point.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Yeah. Right. Remind me to
you stay on that road because if you get off on the base without a permit, well, if you get off of the main road for more than 30 minutes, you will be met by multiple military police.
Oh, yeah.
Within 30 minutes to an hour, you will be, and they will check to make sure you have a permit.
Which airport do you fly in?
I flew out of El Paso.
Okay.
I could also fly out of Roswell. I think there's one in Las Cruces or Rio.
Oh, there's so much now we've got on you. You live near Roswell.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Never ending.
Billy?
I've been through.
Get on those memes.
I've been to Roswell. I've been to Roswell one time, and
yeah, when was that? 1940? When? Oh, sorry.
When he crash landed.
I mean, I have been told if the alien race really does land here, they're going to land and find me, and and they're going to be like,
turn around.
Let's just leave this guy.
Run, Forrest. Run.
Yeah, but Roswell, I've stopped at several different places while we were going through Roswell. One time we were heading to a World Series team roping in Rio, and we went through Roswell, and every person that I came in contact with has probably seen aliens or they might have been on something.
There you go. 50-50.
Yeah.
Either one.
So, you've done some full bloody cowboy stuff out there now, right? So, I mean, what have you been doing? I mean, you don't get on the back of those damn things, do you?
What do you mean? What do I get on the back of?
Oh no, that's a rabbit hole right there.
So yeah,
In the loosest possible sense of the term.
I've been on several day working trips where we go gather the cows and then bring them all to the branding pen, sort off.
Yeah, but you've been doing the rodeo stuff as well, right?
Yes. I've worked several rodeos. The Sandhill Stock Show and Rodeo, which is going on, I think this weekend is when it starts. And it's usually two weekends long, usually Friday, Saturday. Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe 2 weekends in a row. And it's the Sandhill Stock Show and Rodeo. It's the technically the first rodeo of the PRCA circuit for the year.
I've never been to a rodeo.
Well, they're having a rodeo in Salem starting off next weekend. That's
I need
not
to
the
be
real
out.
deal.
I need to be out west for a rodeo.
Yes. If you want to go to a real rodeo, go to a PRCA rodeo. Which, I've helped work that for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've done a lot of stuff with a lot of team roping jackpots.
I was going to say you've done some roping as well, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
I usually work the front gate, started off in the back end, but I usually work the ropings. I'm the guy that when the header nods his head, I'm the one that turns the cow out. I love it. It's fun. Met some very, very good people throughout the last 5 years.
Fantastic.
But yeah, we've the days that we go out branding calves, we'll gather. I mean, you get out on a horse about 8 o'clock in the morning, and you start off in Texas, and you ride for about 20 miles while you're gathering cows. It's only 4 or 5 of us on horseback, and you're gathering cows throughout the day and drive them into New Mexico to the pens because
do they cooperate? I mean, it sounds as though it's
some of them do, but that's why there's several of us, and we got to keep them. It's just like what you see in the movies. Those cows, I mean, they're not showing everybody that's working those cows.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're only showing when they're actually driving them and it looks good. I mean, you're constantly, there's always one trying to dart off. So you just got to pay attention and keep them in line. I mean, we drive them for about 20 miles.
So that's 20 miles a day.
Yeah.
That's hard riding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a long day.
That's hard riding.
It's a 40 square mile pasture.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah,
I mean, you just don't grasp that, do you, here? I mean, or wherever, until you actually...
So imagine riding from, I don't know, here to Pinhook on a horse in a day.
I'd imagine I'd be pretty sore.
It's flat.
I've always wanted to go up and do one of those dude ranch things. I can't help it. I'm an Englishman in New York, right?
And,
you know?
And actually, Deacon's sister, Ann Kate.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what she's still doing, but that's what she used to do in Colorado. I don't know if that's
right.
I think the place that she works is a dude.
You know what? You're right. You're quite right. I remember Deacon saying something about that. Which is, I mean, that's just, I thought that would be just great fun.
Oh, and it's so fun. I mean, and we usually, when we work that pasture, we gather everything, get them up to the pens by about, 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. And then we'll sort off all the weaned calves that have already been branded the time before. We sort them off and haul them back to the ranch house where we got pens to where we can get everything loaded out. And then the next day we come back and we sort the new calves, brand them, and vaccinate them and all that, and then deworm all the mamas, and then we turn them out.
That's the process. Wow. Over for how many acres was that, or how many square miles?
40 square miles.
40 square miles. Bloody hell!
And that butts up to the Guadalupe Mountains.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance to go to if you ever fly out there and check out the Guadalupe National Park, it is beautiful. That's the tallest point in Texas, El Capitan. That is the highest point in Texas. But so, like I said, we start in Texas where the headquarters used to be, and drive into New Mexico where the working pens are, because it's just that big.
Do you watch Yellowstone at all?
I've watched all up until this new season. I mean, that's pretty. It has helped the horse industry, but it's also made a lot of the Western fashion and all that stuff where it was very affordable. Now it is super expensive.
Oh, I bet it's changed that whole industry.
I have a cowboy hat that I had bought. This hat was made in 1975. Not this one that I'm wearing, but it's called a Grizzly. It's all fuzzy. It's a Stetson. It was purchased in 1975 for $400.
Oh, what's he going for now?
Yeah, what is it now?
That's like a $1,700 hat.
Holy hell.
I got it for $250 at a music festival with its original order tag and original box that it came in.
Oh man. Well, hopefully the feds aren't listening so they don't get your basis in all this.
But yeah, it has been quite the experience. Best thing I could have ever done was moving away from here and trying out something new. I just went, it took me and my dog, and I knew one person out there, and they have really, it's just been a heck of an experience. I've learned so many skills, and then just kind of branched off on my own and did certain things, and
it's changed you for a better man. I'll say this much, Caleb. I mean, I know when you left, there was a few things going on that you didn't need to be around, and it's, you know, it's giving you that second lease of life, and you've grasped it with both hands. I think it's fucking outstanding.
It's fun too. There's just so much to explore and so much to do. I've seen some really, really great music. I've gotten to see some of the biggest people that I'm fans of, Charlie Crockett, Coulter Wall, Paul Cawthon, Flatland Cavalry, Caitlin Butts, the Larry Joe Taylor Music Festival in Stephenville, Texas is one.
Yeah, you've been living it large. You've been living it large. I think that's great, you know, and power to you for embracing that move, because we were all worried about you at the time. So that's great. Come good. Bloody great. So where are we with 2024? Where do we even start? I mean, do we start at the beginning? Do we just rat tail our way through our little list here?
Well, I say we'll go personal first for the show and everything. We kind of touched on it earlier, how much we've grown in 2024, social media wise, download wise. Like, we've kind of went from being a kind of a goofy show to almost a voice of Appalachia. You know, there's, you know, at least as far as for just liberty-minded, straightforward people. And a lot of people say we get political and stuff. We have a political philosophy, but we pretty much hold anybody's feet to the fire. We're not an ass-kissing bunch. We just
far from it.
and you know, so we're not really political. We just have our opinions, and we don't make every show about politics. We don't have to. We've had some phenomenal guests, and I think we've had a lot of fun with it. And I think moving forward, kind of the responsibility we've decided to take on.
I think we have to be political in this day and age. I don't think if you're not engaging the political structure and offering pushback, you're actually part of the problem.
Sure.
You know, and that doesn't mean that, you know, that we're going to bash everyone that's a Trumper or a progressive or a libertarian or a green, whatever. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. So,
and we've invited any and all people to come on.
Yeah.
We had discussions with everybody of every political persuasion. We've had liberals on here. We've had progressives. We've had, you know, so, I mean, we're not here to be domineering. We're just here to give a voice to people in Appalachia who might
just
not
word on the
otherwise have
street.
one.
We're
Doesn't
just
matter.
normal folk. We're just, you know, we're the regular Joe.
Yeah. I mean, a seaman, a truck driver, a suit, a rancher, you know, or telecommunications now, but you've had your hand up enough cows' asses.
Yes, about 3,000 a year for about 3 years.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I've made a lot of babies, but I ain't got no children.
So, I mean, for us, 2024, you know, the growth of this whole thing. I mean, starting off going to LibertyCon, how much fun we had there. We always got to look up at the cup and remind ourselves, you know. I think actually we might want to move that cup in front of the door every time we walk in. We got to touch it, you know, to make sure we all walk out of here and get home safely every time. You know, one of those kind of deals.
If it could talk.
If it could, because there's so many missing gaps. But anyway,
there are. Yeah, we can still get.
So, I mean, Simon, I kind of half expected, but for you, completely going into that whole deal, did you even wildly consider what would happen or how it would go, or did you have any idea?
I had no idea what was going on. and then, of course, as soon as we get into the hotel foyer, Chip is there, half cut already. I'm like, well, if this is the way we wish to continue, I shall embrace it. And I did. Yeah, it was just a bit of a blur, quite frankly.
It really was.
You know, I was dressed up as bloody Cornwallis, for goodness sake, and then latched next to Abe Lincoln, our man.
Yeah, I mean, y'all stole the show. That's the wild part about it is like, and Chip, people can go, and what's the code or whatever?
Well, if you want to go to LibertyCon this year, we'll be going back. You can get 50% off the tickets right now. So you can get tickets for $25 to this thing using our code Being Libertarian. Just spell it out, all one word, but use that as your promo code. And again, you can get tickets for $25. It's going to be in DC. I think we just looked it up, February the 7th and 8th. I think.
And 8th, yeah.
Yeah, that Friday and Saturday. So, make plans. You can work on getting your lodging all squared away later. Go ahead and get your tickets now while they're still cheap. But go to libertycon.com. You should be able to get those.
I mean, we had an absolute blast. I mean,
there was some fascinating people there.
Yeah, we didn't get as many up
All
on the
over the
show as
world.
we'd like to.
Yeah.
Internationally, yeah.
I mean, international. I mean, there was colours and creeds, and it was just a wild event. It was something that I was not expecting.
And this year we have WWE Hall of Famer Kane.
Yeah.
The mayor of Knox County is going to be there. So we got to
Along with Spike. Spike's going to be
we gotta
there
get
again. We'll
Spike
probably
in.
get him
Yeah.
on the show. I don't know if Topher's going to be there or not, but if you haven't go back and listen to that show from last February. The name of it is Good People Break Bad Laws, and it was just it's probably one of the best shows we've ever recorded. It was such a good time. He and Simon went toe-to-toe on the alcohol, a Brit, an Australian, just battling it out.
There's a hole in that glass.
Yeah.
It was evaporation.
And it was so much fun. And we had him and we had Jaden, the bass back kid on. Of course, then we had Spike on there for a minute. It was just a really good time. And these two stole the show. So if you want to see a couple of hillbilly Appalachians going to a Liberty conference that's people from all over the world, it's an international conference. And the best part about having Simon up there is he's been all over the world, so he can relate to almost every single one of them. So that just immediately just adds to the lure of coming and interacting and watching these boys.
Well, I
at
think
work.
his accent makes people calm. It puts them at an ease when they start talking to us.
It really
Especially
shouldn't, though.
The internet. Oh, I know. It gets us in the back door, and so I appreciate that approach.
Yeah, it's my stealth approach.
It worked.
Yeah, so come up there and join us. It's going to be a good time. My brownie points are shot with my wife, so I'm really going to have to beg deep down for this one. I'm going to get to go, but it's going to be, it's going to be rough. So, but I'm looking forward to it. It really is work. I just want to let our wives know, if you're listening, it is work. I mean, it might not seem like it, but we are going up there and we are.
Please don't make me spoon with bloody Amos again.
To be professional.
I mean, for goodness sake, I tried to put him off. I told him I slept naked and he didn't bat an eyelid. I mean, for goodness sake, man, why am I spooning with Abe Lincoln?
I don't know. That could be the live stream that you have to pay for, right?
Oh, yeah,
The sponsorship could get you that live stream. So
It was hysterical.
And then, of course, after that, I guess Chip and I went up to the Libertarian National Convention this year, and what a moment that was, going there. And I mean, I was there for the Trump speech, but I'll be honest, I don't remember much of it.
We've got some video footage.
I do. I've got the whole entire thing on video. I managed to keep the camera up and get the stream, but I was more focused on just making sure the camera stayed up there than I was
your ability to interact. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Billy, I know what happened.
But it was a really good time, and I mean, and who knows what's to come in the future for the Libertarian Party. I think things worked out well for them. Obviously, their candidate was a throwaway candidate. We had Mike Tremont on the show again this year, by the way. He's a vice presidential candidate, and I think he's a White House economist. He's intelligent. He's very
I'd
smart.
like to know if there was an underlying strategy behind all of that, and will it ever come out?
Well, I believe it.
Because
I mean,
I think there has to have been an underlying strategy.
well, they try. I mean, they tried to get Kennedy in there, and he's actually a member for life. He paid for that, so they tried to get him in there. And I think when Dave Smith, I think they rightfully didn't run a good candidate this go round. I mean, what's the point? Why put all your time, effort, and energy into an election that you're going against Trump?
Yeah, but
and
they said that 4 years ago as well.
No, 4 years ago they put up a formidable fight. 4 years ago, it was just Trump and Biden. Like, that was their opportunity in 2020. After the lockdowns, it should have never been Joe Jorgensen. That should have been your Dave Smith or Spike Cohen.
But they could have taken a massive chunk from the Harris ticket. I'm convinced of it.
Well, they most likely could, but instead of wasting all your time, effort, and energy and your resources, why not get some kickbacks? Why not get a couple libertarian-minded people in some of these cabinet positions?
That may be the strategy.
So it seemed like that was the trade-off.
That may well be the strategy, in which case it was highly successful, because I think the libertarian movement and policy is going to have a lot of influence in the next 4 years of governance.
Well, it seems like it's translated directly into that Doge movement.
Yes,
I mean, that is seems to be the libertarian movement that is just translated right in there. And you've got Ron Paul, who, they're talking about Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, the libertarian minded folks there to begin with. But now Elon sort of stepped in it with this H1B status controversy, which is sort of, I guess, split conservatives in a way. Have you been keeping up with that?
I have, but I haven't read into it enough to really fully understand it. Can you explain it a little bit? Because it seems like it has something to do with immigration, like it's them still wanting to bring immigrants into the country. And the arguments I've seen is for engineering jobs and stuff, but I don't know. But I've seen tons of other job openings that don't even relate, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's somewhat complicated, and everybody's generalizing the whole thing, but it seems to be you can get one argument is you can get cheap labor that way because you can kind of control what you're paying these folks if they're coming in on these visas, and then the other side of that coin is, well, they're saying there's nobody here that can actually do these jobs that I need or
want to do them,
right? Or they're not. Well, they want to because they're talking about like tech. This is like coding tech jobs, nice jobs that would be for locals, and so it's kind of it's hard to sort of see which way to go with it. It's a little
conflicted.
Yep.
I can see the conflict there, but at the end of the day, the visa system that we've had has failed miserably because it hasn't allowed that transient sort of, and it's short term. I mean, they're not looking to. I don't know where it's going, to be honest with you, but the issue with the existing system has been an utter failure. Now, whether you tie that in and give them a genuine path to citizenship is the way forward. But we can't mull over the existing status quo and try and put a Band-Aid on it or a compromise. There's some radical moves that need to be done with regards to the southern border and accepting immigrants on a visa basis that can give them a path to citizenship if they choose, but it gives them a path that fills a shortfall in the employment areas that we all know about. It just needs addressing, and it needs to be addressed, I think, just honestly, and that's going to ruffle feathers. But hey, something has to be done.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be maybe our next show, we'll kind of talk about what the future kind of holds. And I think there's a lot to mull over when it comes to that. I think as far as the rest of us, 2024 concerned, and we've talked about, kind of the growth we've had, for me, it's been a really up and down year. We had a lot of fun and then we got pregnant again. So that's been really stressful, but beautiful at the same time. And in between that, I lost my grandma, I lost two, former friends of mine before, barely in their 40s. So
it's been a tough year.
And then, of course, the hurricane that because like I said, we talked about that many, many times.
Helene ripped the Band-Aid off, didn't it?
God,
in so many ways, not just to rip the absolute geographic basis of those areas hardest hit in Northwest Carolina, but he ripped the Band-Aid off as to the ability of FEMA.
Yeah, they're still bleeding because FEMA's still not helping.
And it's still not right down there, and don't take your eye off it, whatever you do.
No, it's going to be like that for a long time.
That it was just horrendous, and it continues to be that way.
Caleb, you knew somebody that
yes, Brittany, she passed away in one of the mudslides.
Didn't you say, what's the story? Because you told it to me about, there was a bunch up in the house, right?
From what I was told, they were her and her, I guess, parents and her fiance, they were all on her little homestead there outside of Boone somewhere, and had a mudslide come through, and everybody made it but her. And that's the extent of what I've been told. But I hadn't seen her, and it's since before I moved was the last time I saw her. I went down to a I guess a Thanksgiving weekend before Thanksgiving party, and she went with me, and we jammed out with some really good musicians, had a really great time, and at least that's the last memory I have with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was like 1,400 mudslides, and you can see some of them got caught on video just there's no running from that. There's
there's no
getting away
stopping
from
it.
that.
Yeah.
It's
You
like
just
an
got to
avalanche, but mud.
Yeah. Which that's more
That's
devastating.
massive resistance. I mean, that's a huge amount of power coming down.
Yeah, the weight of that is.
And you're either above it or you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's black and white. Boom.
Yeah. And I mean, you come out 2024 a whole lot better than it was a few months ago too. So I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome. We're sitting here with a new outlook, I guess, again. So
Yeah.
you look healthy. You look good. That Rife machine, is it still doing its magic?
Yeah. It's on 12 hours a day.
I really need to get me one. I think just to sit in the house and sit in between when I'm trying to. We
loaned it out to Drew for a little bit, and he saw some impacts. But yeah, it's hey, I'm a firm believer. There's something going on there with frequency technology that we don't know enough about. And I'll leave it at that.
Make sure you're giving him a follow at Rife Technology.
Oh, absolutely.
Matthew Rife. I know X is probably the bigger platform you're going to find him on. He'll answer all your questions. If you email him, he'll tell you what to do.
He's real active on there.
And I mean, it's an Appalachian-based company. He's right down there in Richlands. That's where my children have roots. So those are places, big part about the show. We want to get the influence to go in there and help some of these towns revitalize themselves, to help make it, appealing for people, make it appealing for, like we talked with Holland a couple weeks ago, where your kids want to come back to, like keep the kids in town, find ways. And, the more influence we get, the more opportunities we'll get in some of them towns as far as our town as well. And big way you can help us doing that is patreon.com/getontap for $10 a day. You can become a subscriber. Shows early, subscriber only content. We're talking to you on there. If you come in there and join the chat, join the conversation, we're trying to build something here. It's not just a little hobby anymore. And so
let's not forget that we are the #1 podcast in the German Baptist community.
We surely are.
That puts us on another level.
It really does. It really does. We just tap into that Vatican-like monetary position. I think we would be doing good, but you can also subscribe on X, same thing, $3 a month. Everything's going towards keeping the wheels going here, which is trying to get our influence out there, meet people, meet up with other business like-minded people in all different parts of Appalachia, and really get an Appalachian network going. So, Nick Overholt, bless him, he sent me $36.50 today, $10 a day. He doesn't join on Patreon for whatever reason, but he did send me that, and I sincerely appreciate that. I know Nick's probably got a $15 to $20 a day budget on athletic events and concerts and stuff. So I'm very fortunate he decided to carve out 1/1000th of his other budget to help out his good friend, because I know all the musicians and athletes care about him a whole lot, as much as I do probably. So we'll thank him. And when I'm giving people hell about donating, these are all really good friends, and I'm just shitting on them because I don't. But anybody I
had to correct you on that. When you're ragging on me pretty hard that episode. and
feet to the fire, go for it.
Yeah,
get it.
Yeah,
get him.
I'm here. I've been giving you $10 a day for
a day. It looks like it's
$10.
Well, now, if you want to go to $10 a day,
if I could afford it, yes, I would. But I mean, I really didn't take that much of a pay increase, but I'm making what I was making, but I'm working half. Not near as many hours. So I'm basically making the same amount of money. I just have a lot better quality of life. So
that's what life is about.
Yes. So I'll keep it at $10 a day, and I keep sending $10 a month.
Oh dear, Caleb. Here we go.
I keep having to lock him in on one of them.
But no, I have sent a lot of people to listen to this podcast. I try to promote y'all as much as possible.
We appreciate it, Caleb, enormously.
And spreading y'all on that end of the country.
Well, hopefully we can make it out there, maybe to the festival next year or something set up. And if there's a couple Frank County musicians out there, we'll just have
we're on the cusp of some corporate sponsorship, which would go a really huge way. And to cut in with the numbers that we're producing now, we're on the cusp of that. So,
we'll have some opportunities to have a war
corporate
chest.
sponsors, by all means. Think about it, because we can get some exposure out, and the way we're going, watch out.
So one more time, that's patreon.com/getontap for just $10 a day. You can always give more, but you really are supporting local. It's supporting local again to try and make us regional and build something special here in Appalachia. Like we've been shit on for far too long. It's time to turn that stereotype around and become a force.
Time to get some money out of Richmond. Time to get some money out of DC.
Yeah.
It needs to come down to Southwest Virginia, and if we can make it happen, yeah, power to everyone that helps.
Okay, so in y'all's opinion, what was the biggest story of 2024?
I have to really. There's a couple, but really, the demise and cover up of the Biden mental
Crime
cognizance
family.
Coupled with Trump's win.
and Trump's win. Those are two massive things that strike me, and the unfolding charade of the mainstream media with regards to Biden's mental acuity and the cover up. They're still playing that little game.
Well, until January 20th, they will. And you're already seeing some things drip out, little bits and pieces of, they were covering this up. They knew about this and they still did this, and only, they were limiting how much he was interacting with certain people so that he couldn't be caught on things. And more of that is going to come out, especially after the actual transfer of power happens, when there's nothing else that can go on with Biden. That'll be it.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Trump
crazy.
I think it's going to be epic.
Yes.
And I hope heads start to roll, because, after the event, there's no good giving everyone a nice little pat on the back and just say, okay, we won fair and square. We've got the mandate and we're going to continue. There's an element of people need to be held to account on this, because the gravity of some of the pollution, it warrants serious investigation and criminal prosecution. And I would be very dissatisfied if no one went to jail, or no one got fired, not transferred sideways, or went through another government department and found themselves the head of that, 2 months later. No, we want heads to roll. That what's happened requires accountability.
And we're going to see if Pam Bondi, who's the Attorney General nominee, we'll see if she's willing to do that, because it's going to be her call to do these things.
Well, the mandate's been very clear, but that it requires them to prosecute with the utmost urgency, I think, because if we don't correct this now, it's just going to be another 4 years of counter lawsuits and all the bullshit that was behind 2020 and 2016.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go with. I mean, the election result I thought was going to happen regardless.
I think podcasts were a big influence with the election this year.
I think memes were a huge influence to it. And I hate to admit that, because we shouldn't be that shallow.
Yeah.
But the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast is that's what you have to, if you're going to make an impact and the meme does it, well, off you go.
Well, here's something that we need to consider. And I mentioned it earlier, that the market's about to get really saturated. And by that, I mean that these conglomerates out here, the NBCs of the world, the CBSs and the ABCs, the people who have had all this power for so long, they missed the boat on this. But if you think they're going to sit back and not invest every dime they have back into getting on the podcast scene and trying to take over this space, and they'll come in, and Tim Pool said it best. So they're going to come in and they're going to go to YouTube and say, hey, we got these big sponsors that are going to come on board, put us towards the top or whatever, because, we're clean. These sponsors know they're going to be here no matter what, blah, blah, blah. And they will push all of this crap straight to the top of the algorithms and all these major platforms. X probably being the one they won't be able to do it to. X will be the place for independent podcasters and things, but it's going to be really, for us moving forward now, we're going to have to start competing with, right now we're just competing with other podcasts. Now we're going to be competing with big media moving forward. They're going to put everything they've got.
Yeah, but what they've done at the moment is continue the same behavior as though their election fraud and lies and misinformation, they're going to they're behaving as though they've got away with it.
Well, their trust is on the way out. I mean,
it's
the
gone.
whole,
And that's
the
the
whole
thing,
game
I
is
think,
trust.
that's the thing I think too, when I heard Tim Pool kind of discussing it, he was talking about his inevitability, but he didn't really mention or go into the fact that, well, even if they did do that, the trust is still gone. People are still going to be able to see that and say, well, I'm not listening to an ABC. I mean, think about during COVID, they tried to get all the late night talk show hosts to get together and do that talk. It was like Colbert and Jimmy Fallon and Kimmel and Trevor Noah, and they all did like a Zoom podcast or something as a way to get out there to people while they weren't recording during, this is like the height of COVID or something, and absolutely nobody listened to them. Nobody cares about these people anymore. People want people who are going to tell the truth, and they want genuine people. That's the two podcasts that are succeeding right now. If you're like somebody like Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson, where you've got the ability and you talk about
Megyn Kelly's been knocking it out the park
and then
recently.
smaller shows like ours are able to kind of keep our head above water because we do reach an audience that really hasn't been tapped into. Nobody cares or focuses on Appalachia. So we've been able to get ourselves a foothold because we are going after a base that is largely ignored. It's our base, it's our people, and we want to change that. So
let me play devil's advocate just a little bit here, because it's kind of fun to go down a semi rabbit hole, if you want. What would you do, Billy, if someone from, let's say, NBC came around and said, listen, we want to be able to sponsor you, we want to have interaction, we want to be able to promote your podcast, but under the NBC banner, and now you become, a podcast that is now incorporated in, and I'm using NBC, but it could be anyone, it could be ABC, it could be Fox, it could be whoever. But how would you handle that?
Well, I would say, first off, draw up a contract, no more than 2 or 3 pages. I'm going to have Chip look it over. I'm not saying I wouldn't be for sale, because if they're going to throw a gob shit ton of money at us to do it, and we're only contractually obligated for a couple of years or something like that, and it can make all of our lives much better, I'd bite the bullet and go in and do it, and I'd come back out and do the independent thing again. I mean...
Well, there's one question, is who has editorial content or the decision-making?
That's exactly would be my
Do we
point.
have it or do they have it? If we have it, then let's do it.
Yeah.
If we don't, then we're not for sale.
Yeah, because obviously if you're coming...
And I think that's how you have to to do it. Because we have to maintain our integrity and low ethical standpoints.
Well, that's what separates us.
Exactly.
That is what separates us.
So, we'd have to be very cautious about how that happened, but that isn't beyond the realms of possibility.
I don't know, though. I mean, you have to be honest about the conversation, though. I mean, if it's NBC coming at you and they say, okay, we're going to give you $3 million a year for 3 years.
And if it's to be honest...
And for $3 million a year, I might give up a little power and say, all right, you can decide, but you can't tell me what to say, would be my line in the sand. Like, you can't force me to push a narrative I don't believe in. Otherwise, we can work out everything. For $3 million, I would probably sell that for 3 years, because that would greatly impact all of our families for life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then, after 3 years, you come back and like, okay, well, now we're back to doing our...
But I still think you have to maintain your integrity.
You do. And that's the only way you can do it.
As long as you can maintain your integrity with an arrangement like that.
But my thought would be, okay, if NBC is trying to come around and get somebody like us, and they're obviously trying to change their image, and they're not trying to turn us around, they obviously want to start getting back that more conservative, moderate crowd.
Embrace it.
So hopefully their thought process would be, well, we need these guys, conservatives away now. They're not conservative, but maybe just like liberty-minded, very moderate, just common sense is what we're looking to get.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, their advertisers are the ones who are going to have to come around on us. I mean, they're going to have to be okay with us having the editorial ability. Yeah. I mean, that's who's going to.
But that would be
that
you would think from a corporate standpoint that the drubbing that they have received over the last few decades, certainly the last dozen years, that if they're looking to get their integrity back, they would have to maintain our integrity, right, to get their integrity.
Where
back.
else can they go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that are in the hole right now, and their back is against the wall, and it's sink or swim. Now, I'm kind of a little bit tongue in cheek and just say, well, bloody sink, because what you've done has been despicable. But if we're coming back to, true journalism and the presentation of fact, or at least an unbiased opinion, I think we'd embrace it wholeheartedly. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely
for the greater good.
Yeah. I don't want no 40-page contract. You can do it in three pages or less.
Oh, absolutely. Of course you can.
We're not dealing with the nonsense, and we'll all get together and look over it.
But the fact that we're discussing this,
I'll draw it up.
It's kind of interesting.
I'll draw the contract.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll leave that to our legal legal experts and representation. Thank you, Chip.
They don't need it.
But that's a fascinating conversation in itself. The fact that we're even, even skirting that subject is fascinating to me.
Well, I think we all have an opportunity here. We really do. We're kind of like the hillbilly podcast version of Duck Dynasty. We've got this just crazy country personality. I can't relate. I mean, I'm sure there's other kind of redneck. There's might be other redneck shows out there.
You
but
can't frame it.
And we've got such good characters. Great musicians are coming up here on the mountain to hang out. People with great stories, people with great ideas, great business owners who've done great things. And you come up here and you come on the mountain and you get the fresh air. Sometimes we shoot the cannon. We got Dennis up here grilling the Jamaican stuff. We'll have Buddy up here barbecuing for us, or Brian at the Burger Company, one of his people coming up and catering events. I mean, we really have a good time, and we have an ability and a responsibility, I think, at this point in time. And I think, we need support, obviously, because we are very grounded and based and working people. Like, everybody at this table pretty much is scraping to get by right now, like everybody else. So, this is all volunteer work right now. None of us get paid. None of us make any money. We want to get to that point, because then when we're making money and then we have a war chest, then we start traveling places and getting the word out there and being a bigger voice for the region and getting more attention to the region and getting more people's stories from the region out there.
Mm-hmm. Let's get back to 24 though. I mean, with some of the points that
one just popped in my head that's not on the board that I think we desperately need to talk about, because it's the Jeffrey Epstein of 2024, but Diddy getting arrested.
Oh dear.
And I mean, these are the honeypots of this generation. It used to be Playboy and The Mansion.
Jay-Z's going down with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it. It's it is catastrophic for
a lot of people in the mainstream entertainment industry are fixing to have some problems.
Well, they said if you want to find out which actor or musician was really in trouble, then look who feverishly endorsed Kamala Harris in 2024, and that'll tell you right there who's probably on that Diddy list.
And there's also folks who have deleted a bunch of tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Deleted a bunch of their old tweets.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, as we've found out recently, even as much as Hillary Clinton tried to destroy or bleach bit her 33,000 emails or whatever it was, they are in possession of foreign entities. That's been confirmed.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, I mean, Bongino came out with this and he's been knocking it out of the park recently on this very subject matter. And the Clinton email thing is not over by any stretch.
Well, I don't know at this point how it might have been very recently, and I've only seen little clips, but I think Patrick Bet David had Anthony Weiner on his show, and I don't know if it was not too long ago, and he grilled him on that damn laptop. He was like, explain these things to me. He's like, 12 of the detectives who watched that laptop, your laptop, 12 of them out of 14 or so ended up committing suicide. He didn't dispute it. They said these guys are veterans, 20 years, and they were going outside and throwing up and things of that nature. And he was like, how do you have this many people unalived that are all connected to one person, talking about Hillary. And, he started getting flustered and frustrated. He's like, because Uma, whatever her name is, Aberdeen was Hillary's right-hand girl or whatever for her whole deal. And she was married to Anthony Weiner, and that laptop.
And now she's with Soros.
That laptop
Soros
has
Jr.
gruesome things on it. Like,
yeah, and isn't it strange?
And he's not in jail.
Now be with Soros Jr. Very interesting. Start putting all the dots together. This is where we need Stuart. He's our dot connector.
I think here very soon, maybe in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a show just around Stuart. I really want to have an entire show. Maybe find somebody else out there who's kind of talk about the Mandela effect and just go down every sink, because this is some weird shit's going on. I mean,
for sure it is.
Some weird shit's going on. So, yeah, the Diddy thing, there's a lot of people connected to that, to the Democrats.
What about the assassination attempts?
Oprah.
Let's touch on those for a little bit, because there's some absolutely frightening stuff going on with FBI accountability in this regard.
And we still know less about that than we do about, the United Healthcare guy who...
Yeah. We know all about the pipe bomb deal now that's coming out. I mean, talk about FBI. It's not coercion. I mean, they're blatantly involved.
Malfeasance. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're in a world of hurt right now, and rightly so, in my opinion. Sorry, FBI Van 7. I know you can come
Well, if
rolling
Cash
up the
Patel
driveway.
if he gets, the nomination, then they should see a clean house, and they're way overdue for it.
Yeah, how is it that, and this is kind of another big story of 2024, how is it that this guy who assassinates a CEO of a major insurance company, excuse me.
Bless you, Billy.
Thank you. And just so randomly finds himself getting caught in McDonald's with the manifesto in his hand, with all the evidence just properly right there. We know everything about this guy, his entire past, speeches, but we don't know jack shit about the man who took a shot at Donald. I mean, everything, no social media footprint, no information. They cremated him. I mean,
and here comes another one. Whilst we're just going off at wild tangents, I'll throw in another one. What has been going on with all these drones? Because I mean, you start going, is this a conspiracy theory? Well, no, we know about conspiracy theories. They normally end up as facts. What were they? Were they sniffing out dirty bombs? Is there what's going on? What is going on there? And we've had nothing.
I think the best explanations were either that they were sniffing out for dirty bombs, or they were tactically training for upcoming potential,
or both, just to see how the population would react. Yeah, a big data collection. Maybe they weren't doing anything but sitting up there just to see how people would react.
Fascinating.
But
24 is a wild year.
It seems CIA-ish because of the way people reacted to it, the way that Trump only would talk about so much of it, the way that really anybody connected to it would only talk about so much. So it's interesting to see those reactions, but I think that's what happened with it.
Now, we've touched there the last couple of conversations about some of the folks that are coming forward as czars of. I think we should look at some of the folks up for consideration that are going to have influence over government on January 21st. And I think their influence is very libertarian based and exactly what we want to see. So there's, Vivek and Musk and RFK Jr. And I'd love to talk about
the border side.
Oh gosh, what's his name? I can see him.
Oh my goodness, he's a bull in a china shop, and I love it.
Yes,
Tom something. Yeah, he's exactly what you want in that position.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you got the defense guy, Hegseth. Is that right?
Hegseth, yeah.
Hegseth
Pete Hegseth.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth. He's going to be interesting. Hopefully, they can get him in. Cash Patel, who we talked about for FBI, national security. Isn't that Tulsi Gabbard? I think for national security.
She's over like the intelligence agencies or whatever.
So, these are
Kennedy over health.
That's right.
Like, I honestly don't look, if we're going to rebuild this country and we're going to go back to being a great America, then we really have to start focusing locally and making sure that all of our people are taking care of themselves locally and pushing these chemicals and shit, because they're able to do this stuff because it's very cheap. Make that shit so expensive that people stop buying it and they start buying local again, and they start supporting their, that's how it's going to be done. If you want to have agriculture, like big ag and big farming or whatever, you want to have your big ass fields of corn or whatever, your big ass cattle, beef ranches, which most of our beef is coming from Brazil right now. That's where we get most of it from. But if you want to have your, processing facilities that skirt the fucking rules of efficacy, you want to be good to your animals. A lot of those places aren't.
I mean, most beef is that's grown in the U.S. is humanely raised but verbally abused. That it should be labeled like that. If you ever work cattle, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. Humanely raised and very verbally abused.
Yeah,
you'd see why we eat them if you've ever worked.
Well, that makes them tender, right?
Oh yeah, that's what helps tenderize them.
But seriously, if you want to do that, make that an export. You know what I mean? Make that something where, maybe you're reaching to massive cities or whatever to make it a little cheaper on them because they can't have farms and stuff. And it takes an awful lot it would take 4 or 5 counties surrounding New York doing nothing but farming just to be able to sustain New York City. So, if you want your big ag for those places, make sure it's still not using chemicals and shit like that. But for everybody else, like, buy your beef as local as you can. Buy your vegetables as local as you can. Go to your farmers markets. And the great thing about farmers markets these days, is a lot of the people there have little markets on their farms at the same time. So you can actually, not even on Saturday when they're set up at the market, but during the week, you go to their little market set up on their farms and they've got the same stuff. So they're there 24/7 for you now. Find look, take your 10 hours a week, you either spend at the bar, or 5 hours a day you spend on your cell phone or whatever, and take that extra time, an hour a day, to might go to 2 or 3 different people to get your bread, to get your milk, to get your meat and vegetables. But you know where it's coming from. Your kids are going to be a whole lot healthier. Your mind is going to be a whole lot cleaner.
So when I go by, when I'm out there, it's an hour and a half to the grocery store. I don't buy any of my beef at the grocery store. There's a little small place, A&M Meats, right there as you coming into Alamogordo. So I go to the grocery store, get all my stuff, and then as I'm coming back out of town, stop in there at A&M Meats local, and you can actually order from them online also.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize that, because they're just going to grocery stores their whole lives. With these local places, you can actually buy parts of an animal. So you can buy a quarter of a cow, half a cow, all processed or mostly processed.
Yeah, you're buying a share,
right? Yeah. And you can actually do that. Like, that's an option, and it's, again, what went into that animal, and how it's going to taste. So that's an option for people that they need to look at locally.
Yeah, because where your meat's coming from. It's getting injected in that meat. The farmer's going to be honest with you. Most of them are organic. What we truly should look at is organic. No steroids and that crazy nonsense.
You're not worried about recalls at the store.
And when you get that quarter, you're getting a lot of hamburger, and you're getting, some steaks, and you're getting some, roasts and
tri-tip.
Yeah, and so you're not getting a ton of that, but you are getting a ton of hamburger, and you're getting a few meals of everything else. When you go to that price versus what you would pay at the store for it equally, it's probably, at the end of the day, half as cheap, and your body is so much better off for it.
Oh, it's definitely.
And you're getting so much more for your money.
It's the only way to go.
A pound, if I get one of his burgers, if we go up there to his house and he grills me one of his cow's burgers, if it's if it's as wide as round as my hand, you put it on the grill and you pull it off, it's still wide as round as my hand. The one, if you go to Walmart or Kroger and get their beef, it's like 30% freaking water. So if you go off at this, it shrinks down.
17.5% of frozen ground beef is allowed to be injected with saline and water, which, when you buy a frozen burger, and you'll notice this, you'll buy, let's say, typically a 3-ounce bun. Now, a quarter-pound burger, under normal circumstances, will fit a 3-ounce bun. If you buy a frozen burger that has that 17.5% saline water injection, you're going to lose that in the cooking process. So that quarter-pound burger that was made up of 17.5% water then actually fits a 2-ounce bun. So you've got to be cognizant of where your money is going, because you're paying 17.5% at whatever it is price per pound for that quarter-pound burger. But it's 17.5% of that is water.
Yeah, and if
you're paying price per pound. And if you're looking for
something like that, you can go, if I'm not mistaken, you can go get shares if you're listening locally at Melvin's Farm to Fork. I'm pretty sure.
You go to any cattle farmer.
Yeah. KC Meat Farms. I wonder if
KC absolutely. But any of the cattle producers, cattle farms, you can have a direct relationship with the farmer. It doesn't necessarily have to be, the ultimate outlet being a Melvin's Farm to Fork type, which is it's really a farm-to-table store, or in fact a meat processing place like Casey Farms, which is USDA. Fantastic operation they've got there locally for Franklin County. Can't sing their praises highly enough. As same with Melvin's, Farm to Fork. All of these things, they're beginning to expand. We're seeing farmers markets. The Ferrum Farmers Market is fantastic. Franklin County Farmers Market, Glade Hill Farmers Market. All of these things, farm stands and stalls, support them. You're getting a better quality product to start with, which is a no-brainer. You know what's being put into your food, whereas you buy a burger from a box store, there may be 1,000 cattle DNA in that one burger. Now, that's not going to be good. Let me tell you now, that is not good. You don't know where that's come from. So, buying locally, absolutely promote it
Also
every
keeps
single
the
time.
money in the community.
And if you keep that dollar circulating through one more pair of hands, your standard of life locally, I guarantee you, will be significantly improved. You know, that's basic economics. But we can all do it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited because, you know, a lot of people that I talk to that listen to the show, they tell me, they're like, you know, I started finding local farmers. We started finding local produce and stuff. You know, listening to y'all, that makes sense. I know, you know, Gail and them had like one of their second best ever days of sales a few days after. We need to get them back on actually with our new base out there because I like what they're doing down there too. Because she's having conferences down there at the farm. She's getting people interested.
She's doing teaching. She's doing sourdough lessons and all of that.
Getting people talking about the homestead and, you know, be as self-sufficient as you possibly can. Like there should be a Gail in every community with her own little farm store in there. You go in there and get everything you need. It's going to keep everybody in the community good and going. And you could completely eliminate big box store grocery stores.
Well, they offer such a poor product.
Yeah.
You know, when you do a side-by-side comparison.
But you know what? You know what a lot of these companies should do, and maybe they should hire me as a marketer, and maybe Kroger hire me as a marketer. I got the great idea. Scrap all your freaking meat and produce and be that company that says, okay, we're going to be what the grocery store is really meant to be, where your butcher could be in one stop, your baker, but we're going to hire local people, put them in here, like doing their own thing.
I don't want Kroger anything involved with that. I don't want a big box store anywhere near it.
All of your meat is locally produced. Yep. All your meat is from people right down the road, further.
We'll do that from grassroots up. The last thing we need is the corporate likes of Food Lion, Kroger, that shit.
That's the cool thing about in Texas, HEB grocery stores. Everything. I mean, they have their big brand name things down the aisles, but pretty much everything in their store is all Texas raised. Like you get Texas beef. Mm-hmm. It's everything comes from Texas. And HEB is rated the number one grocery store in America, and they're only in Texas. And
there's a lot to be said for that. Absolutely. And that's
I've been to a lot of grocery stores. There is nothing like an HEB. Nothing like it.
Take a leaf there. Learn a lesson.
Yeah. Well, when I'm saying Kroger doing those things, it's, you know, doing it statewide, you know, maybe in bigger locations in the middle of cities and stuff. Say, hey, all your city meat is coming from outside sources, you know, because a lot of the people in the city, it does get kind of hard, you know, to maybe drive out to the country to go make this happen. Like we can do it in our communities because we're all, you know, local and we're going to do enough support each other, but it's hard to ask somebody in Roanoke to drive 30 minutes.
Got to start from grassroots up.
So, you know, bigger cities, you know, at least in those big box stores, but we could eliminate the box stores in smaller localities.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because you're going to be supporting your local people.
Exactly. Have your baker back in the main street. Have your butcher back in the main street. The greengrocer. I mean, days of old.
Yeah,
I mean, we should be welcoming them back because that's where the quality product originated from, and how we've got off that path through corporate greed and, you know, being addicted to cheap food. I'm going to tell you folks now, cheap food is going to kill you.
Yeah.
It will do it slowly and you won't really know about it, but it's going to kill you.
You know who owns all the major big food companies?
How many of them? They've got 4 companies, right?
You know who really bought them out like back in the 80s and 90s or 70s and 80s?
Probably Monsanto. Who knows?
Yep.
Nabisco.
Yep. Cigarette brands.
Yep.
So the people who spent decades getting you addicted to cigarettes now have control of the food industry.
And are doing now doing it through sugar.
Because, I mean,
in its various forms.
Because you'll see people talk about having like gluten allergies, and they'll go to Europe and they'll eat all the bread they possibly can handle and never have any issues because the standards over there are so much better. It's the bread in the United States with all the chemicals is what the gluten problems are. Like Tara's got terrible gluten. I love you, by the way. Terrible gluten problems. And
she needs to get some of
my really wish I could talk her just overnight fucking bread from Europe or something like that. That way she could enjoy it.
I bake my own, and there's literally 3 to 4 ingredients, maybe 5 if you want to go more exotic. But that's the basic. And when you look at the ingredients on the back of store-bought bread, that's kept not in a fridge. Correctly so, because
if you can't understand the word,
it has all
it's
those
probably not good for
numbers
you.
on it, and it can catch fire. It's flammable.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on?
That's a bad sign.
You know, not good.
Well, I saw a video of this woman not too long ago who, God, this is one of these moments that would be great to have all the cameras on us and go to the video and pull it up. This woman pulls out a McDonald's meal she's had in her closet for like 35 years. And you look at the fries and the burger and it looks practically like the day she bought it.
Ew.
Has not
Scary.
molded.
That's gross.
Has not molded in the least. Has not
Scary.
deteriorated. And that's the stuff people are putting into their bodies. I mean,
Well,
madly.
I think with RFK and that health position, we're going to see some radical changes. This is going to come onto something that I just hit the back of my mind, and I might as well get it out now because it will be gone in a nanosecond. Is with these radical changes that are coming, and I think all for the good, particularly with some of the health policies that are going to be, bless you, Billy, some of these health policies, how we're going to deal with feeding America healthy again. There's going to have to be a strategy where the midterms, there's a time limit in which he can get away with some really radical moves that are going to be painful for us as a country, as a people, as a citizenry. And it's not going to sit well. So those midterms, he's got a very short window, I think, to engage some of the more radical steps with what he and I think the country needs. He's got a very short window in which to do this because the midterms can change all of that around because we are so shallow in our perception of what is good for us in the long run. It's going to be a fascinating 2 years.
Well, plus we're coming off 4 years of Bidenomics, which
that's just horrendous.
So
I mean, we can
adding
go,
on top.
and this is where that full sweep election result really kicks in. I mean,
the people spoke.
Well, I mean, and it was shattering. I mean, the DNC has to be on the, they're in splinters.
Kamala still owes money.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean,
Of course.
yeah. I mean, what do you expect?
Definitely glad that that's not what our economy is going to be for the
kidding.
next 4 years. Hopefully.
No kidding.
But I mean, that mandate really has a 2-year expiration date on it.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And that concerns me because there's a lot to address in 2 years, and the American people can easily turn it round the midterm because they're not seeing the long term, and that's got to be so frustrating politically. But that's the nature of the beast.
I wonder if that's part of the reason that he's so behind Mike Johnson right now.
Yeah,
because he's getting a lot of flack for not going after somebody different. But if he has Mike Johnson, then he has more time. He doesn't have to replace Mike, and that would take a long time.
Yeah,
he might miss his window. I wonder if that factors in.
I'm sure it does because that window it's already rapidly closing, and we're talking about the midterms. Goodness gracious, we haven't even got there yet. It's not even January 21st. Mm-hmm. But that's the way you've got to think. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not seeing people think that way. We have to think the longer term. And that mandate can't be done in 2 years. It's tighten your belts, folks. This is going to be a tough.
It's going to get a little more expensive to begin with.
It's going to be a tough couple of years.
But the health benefits are going to be.
You have to consider that.
So much better.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else have we got to touch on?
I guess Jimmy Carter, we haven't talked about him.
Well, I mean, 100 years old.
He made it a long time, although he, the last few pictures of him, he didn't look very animated.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the passing of, a former president.
I saw the memes that were saying, showing him still saying he was going to vote 4 years from now, so don't worry.
I mean, and there's some very disingenuous reporting and comments being made as well.
Speaking of voting like that, so I had to do an absentee ballot because I'm still a registered Virginia voter. And I am upset with Virginia at the moment because my ballot didn't get to my mailbox until the day It got there the day before the election. It had to be overnight. I would have been able to. I was not able to vote because it didn't get to me in time.
To make it
And I was so worried because I kept checking my mailbox, and I was thinking, oh, this got intercepted and somebody's going to vote for Kamala Harris with my absentee ballot.
We'd let you know.
And and it did not get to me in time to be able to vote this year. And I was very, very upset about that.
That is so emblematic of the state. It's just, they can't even get you the form in time to make your vote count.
Yeah, that's a bit depressing.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, that's not right.
Because I went to go try to change my driver's license to a New Mexico license so I could vote there in town.
What'd they say they would?
I didn't have enough proof of residency because I'd only been there for so long, and I didn't have any. I changed my address not long after I moved there. And there wasn't enough evidence of me being a New Mexico resident, so they wouldn't give me a New Mexico driver's license. So sometime in this year, I'm going to go switch to a New Mexico license because now I actually do have.
Now you got the
stuff. I have things coming in the mail with my name on it at that address.
That's unfortunately that's one of those technicalities that it sucks, but there is. I'm not saying you set a precedent by any stretch. It's shit happens.
Yep.
And that's an administrative thing. And they are held by administrative rules. Yeah, that sucks. Big time.
You know, one thing
I didn't get intercepted.
Yes. Be thankful for that.
Here is one thing that I want to talk about that I've seen in 2024 that I am honestly really not sure how to take or how to understand or how to grasp.
You bastard.
What?
Go on.
It's going
I know
it's going to get deep in the weeds for a second.
Go on.
It's going to get, but given, and this has nothing to do with Appalachia, but it kind of does because as voting citizens, we should have a voice in discussing these kind of things. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it's the amount of mean Mr. Mustache, like the praise he is now getting, I've seen online, and all the videos like sympathizing and empathizing with him has just blown my absolute mind. This thing between Israel and Palestine has really flipped this timeline on it. Like I would never in my wildest dreams imagine scrolling Instagram and seeing like a pro Hitler video, like a sympathetic, like that is something 15 or 20 years ago would have been considered like neo-Nazi, far right, out of your mind, not absolutely not accepted. You know, you can do it, and you have the right to, but we reject it. Like it's like become mainstream due to this one situation going on right now. It has made people completely, and I don't really know how to because now you have to question everything anyway. Well, were they telling us the truth back then? So you're telling me I should trust what the news coming out of the 40s and the 30s? I should trust the same source that has essentially been giving us the news for 80 years, and they just lied to us about everything. When you talk about 2020, we can all look back and see all of their bullshit over the years now that the internet is available. So everything should be questioned, I think. But it's just wild to me that you'll be like I'll see videos of like a painting he did and like a little caption and be like, "Oh, Daddy, this is such a beautiful painting. What, I bet he turned out to be a great artist or something." And it's praise for the man. Somebody that throughout our history, like everything has been. Like every war movie, almost every documentary is always about that one war. They never
history is written by the victors.
But even General Patton, at the end of the war, come out and said, "I think we fought for the wrong side." Said, "I think the wrong side won," because we were sided with the Russians, who through their communism was far more brutal, far more deaths.
Winston Churchill in 1949 said we should have continued the war. In fact, it may have been 47. But yeah, I think he recognized the threat of Russia. I don't see them as such a threat, funnily enough, and it's highly contentious. But, we've encroached on the buffer zone. And when I say we, NATO has encroached on that buffer zone with East and West. And it's clear to see. You just draw the timeline. And who's been pressing those buttons? I'm not saying Putin is the angel. He certainly bloody well isn't. But to swing round and say he hasn't been poked with a fairly significant stick would be an absolute lie. Mm-hmm. There's the geopolitics involved from 1912 onwards really has been very manipulated. Yeah, the truth will eventually prevail, but whether it's within our lifetimes, I doubt it. The fact that they seal records for 50 plus years is ridiculous. Why are you sealing a record for 50 years?
Well, and hopefully, again, they keep saying that with Doge that this is going to, maybe they'll adjust some of that and this will change. But, it underscores that there is a big problem with what we've got going. And long term, we need to have transparency or we don't have anything. We've got what China has.
Watch out.
So what else we got from 2024? What are some other?
Well, I'll tell you, there was one thing that struck me very locally. That was a great success. Was the Ferrum Park, Ferrum Forward deal, and for them to get the land back from the county for their park and whatever development they're looking to do is one thing. That was a great success for them, but the very fact that they had to buy the land back at probably an inflated price, I think is a bit of a kick in the teeth for them, particularly when the Ferrum doesn't have any support from Franklin County with regards to parks and what have you. And now you've got the Board of Supervisors going, oh, well, we'll put $130,000 for a dog park at somewhere up around Smith Mountain Lake, whilst not offering any financial assistance for the Ferrum Park. It smacks of corruption. I'll leave it at that. That does frustrate me. So, one hand, you've got a great success. They've got their projects. They've got movement forward. But then you've got the other side of it where, and that also, there's an element that I don't think a lot of folks are aware of, that this area was taken out of the Appalachian region by the Board of Supervisors due to pressure, probably from the lake, because the word Appalachia is a bit of a dirty word with regards to Appalachians, which I vehemently disagree with.
You imagine that the people who live on Smith Mountain Lake don't think they should be a part of. And as if you look at those ARC maps, those Appalachian Regional Commission maps, they'll be going through the counties all the way up and down, and you'll see a big chunk out where Franklin County and I think maybe even Bedford aren't in it. I'm sitting there thinking the Blue Ridge Parkway runs through Bedford. I walk out my back door and I see mountains. Like, you can't say we're not Appalachian. Now, that's absurd.
The flip side of that is that there is a lot of funding through grants for the Appalachian region. Now, for the Board of Supervisors to withdraw us from that has actually kicked the Ferrum Park and the Ferrum projects, whichever one it is, has given them an enormous uphill struggle because they are now outside of the Appalachian region. Thank you, Board of Supervisors. They are no longer eligible to get those grants that would help them develop. So it's a double kick in the nuts for that Ferrum project by their own Board of Supervisors. Now, I find that fucking outrageous, quite frankly. And that really fucked me off at the end of the year. And that's not right.
Maybe we should get a bunch of people on the Board of Supervisors that can request to be put back into the Appalachian or Regional Commission or whatever.
We bloody well should. Absolutely. Yeah. I find it offensive that we're not. And that we've been dictated to by a bunch of yahoos up at the lake that says, oh, no, we don't need to be reflected upon as Appalachians because we're fucking not. Oh, shut the fuck up, will you? Come on. Don't fucking are you part of that woke shit that we're trampling on right now? Because we're not going to be dictated to like that. How dare you?
Yeah, I mean
That's my rant for the year.
Last one till next year.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think I won't be sharing this on the Smith Mountain Lake social page.
Oh no, I suggest you do. I suggest you do, because how dare you impose that? And now you've gone and shafted an area in Franklin County that, quite frankly, needs the most support that it can, because it's the most underfunded element of Franklin County is that Ferrum area and zone further out, heading, south and west. Yeah, no, not right. Not right. You have done the county and its residents wrong by taking us out of the Appalachian zone. Absolutely incorrect. How dare you?
Yeah, I'd like to somehow get the backing or something from doing this show, or somehow find a way. I would love to put like a mini like small farm to table restaurant maybe in Boone's Mill, and then put like a bar scene, kind of bigger one in Ferrum. That way the college kids had somewhere to go that didn't completely, off the rails or anything like that. They can go in there and get local beef. They can get local bacon on their burgers, potatoes or whatever might come from Idaho.
Well, actually, in fairness there, it's another part of the microeconomics of Ferrum College, is that they are very strongly encouraged, and it's almost a mandate, that they eat within campus grounds. And I know KC Farms supports the catering. So in a way and fashion, that is locally supported, but it's just it's kind of a backhanded way of doing it. I'd sooner it was open market, free market, and restaurants could come in and get support from the college with offering whatever service they had to offer. But Ferrum College has decided to put that in-house. But even so, they're still supporting, the likes of KC Farms for supplying meat for their cafeterias and restaurants and what have you. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'd like to see it a little bit more open and free for competition.
Yeah, we need Ferrum to succeed. We needed to have a good, strong ag department up there where a lot of our local kids are going to go up there and learn a little bit more about farming.
Couldn't agree with you more. But for the fact that the Board of Supervisors has taken us out of that Appalachian region, has stopped Ferrum Forward and the Ferrum Park from gaining funds for the Appalachian region, because they're not in it anymore. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Yeah. That just blows my mind.
You walk out the door here and you see like 4 different mountain ranges.
Yeah, I mean it's disgusting. That's just not right.
I mean, how are you going to say the moonshine capital of the world is not part of Appalachia?
It's just ridiculous.
You
idiots.
It helps spread the whole
idiots.
Thing.
So what else we got? Anything else we need to touch on about 2024?
I think we have covered most of it. The big one was just, I think, Hurricane Helene, and what FEMA continues to do, which we've already sort of touched base on.
A number of shows.
Well, right now, if I'm not mistaken, it's flooding again, and a lot of the smaller bridges and stuff that they'd built.
Yes, one flooded yesterday.
Have flooded and been taken out, so now they're back to square one with a lot of that stuff. And there is apparently in a week and a half or so, a massive, massive cold front coming in. It's supposed to, I saw somebody talking about wind chills with 20 below. Like through some of the parts of Western North Carolina, Southwest Virginia, even here, it was looking like
2 weeks are supposed
10
to be
below.
bad.
What do they call that weather system? It's an Arctic, whatever it is.
How wild is it that we've had all these phenomenons in just a short period of time? The Bible says in the end days, you're going to see crazy, crazy storms and this and this and this. He didn't say how they would come. He didn't say whether they'd be man manipulated or.
Well, let's hope RFK stops cloud seeding off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Florida's banned it, if I'm not mistaken. So
it should be banned nationally. Who on earth gave them the right to drop our heavy metals on us through bloody cloud seeding? You've got to be fucking kidding me.
Now, my turn to play devil's advocate. If you were trying to sustain a civilization and you can get up there and safely do it where it's not
safe though, Billy.
But if there was a way you could do it, I'm sure there was a way they could find it to make it where if you're having a drought, you go in there and you do a little bit of rain to make sure the crops are freaking, growing or whatever. I mean, that's kind of where you got to talk about. I mean, even like Monsanto and the crazy things they do, at the end of the day, if you can crossbreed to make a tomato that's going to grow in colder weather, like that's benefit to to the world.
Part of the problems of big ag has been GMO. And that's something that we'll touch on next year, hopefully, is the fact that a lot of GMO products are on the same timeline, right, with a lot of medical issues, and there's no denying it. So to say, oh, yeah, let's do that. No, let's not do that. Let's leave it to God's plan. And he's been quite sufficient, thank you.
I think it's so wild. I wanted to ask this, since we're kind of reflecting back on the year. I want to reflect back on the last quarter century, because it's wild. Tomorrow we're going to be starting a quarter century into 2000, and we all should very well remember 2000 and kind of what it was like, the Y2K scare. I'll tell you where I was at this night in December in 1999. I was a senior in high school, and I was working at Winn-Dickie at the time. And for whatever reason, the only time that ever they asked people to come in and work nights was that night. And thinking back on it now, it was probably because the store manager wanted bodies in there in case looters started coming in. And I didn't want to be the one to tell him, but I'm either joining them or I'm getting the hell out of there. I'm not dying to save some freaking shrimp in the back.
I was in fifth grade that year.
Pack the car and roll.
I can tell you exactly where I was.
Well, I'll tell you. We'll get to you.
That sounds like something in my
So me and a bunch of my buddies, it was CJ, Scott, a bunch of us, Jeremy Scott, rest his soul, he had an apartment kind of deal at Ferrum College. It wasn't like a normal dorm. I think it was technically campus housing, but for the upper class, they had these little like houses on the hill that they would separate into dorm rooms or whatever. So he had this basement floor in there. So we go up in there and we're like, all right, we got a room, 5 or 6 of us. We're drinking, carrying on, being stupid, having a good time. And the campus security or Ferrum police showed up. Like, shit, we're all 17, 18. We had counted down the new year. We'd made it to then, and they showed up, and I was like, damn, we're all going to jail. I got to be at work in an hour. And he just came in there and he said, well, you're not supposed to be here. Why are you here? We said, oh, buddy, let us have it or whatever. He's like, well, he wasn't supposed to do that, and y'all ain't supposed to be here. Go ahead and get out of here, and, we won't say nothing of it. And he just, released 5 or 6 drunk 17-year-olds back into the wild. And I went into work at night, worked about 5 or 6 in the morning. But that was the Y2K scare. And everybody thought that the computers were going to crash and planes were going to fall out of the sky and all this kind of nonsense. So where were you at, Simon?
I was in a little place in Turks and Caicos, Providenciales, on a spit of land at Turtle Cove Marina, around a fire. And I didn't quite make midnight. Yeah, I paced myself slightly. I was 30 minutes out with my pacing. Yeah.
You almost had it.
Nearly, not quite.
Where were you at, Chip? Do you remember?
Oh, absolutely. I was on Bourbon Street.
Oh, wow.
In New Orleans. Yeah, that was the plan. The plan was Y2K on Bourbon Street. So we went down, me and 3 of my buddies drove down about, I guess, 3 or 4 days before. And so we were ripe by the time it was.
This is when you were in college.
Yeah. I was a junior, going to be a senior in college. And so, yeah, the big thing was about 11 o'clock, about an hour before Y2K New Year's, I get arrested. I get handcuffed and put in the back of a cop car for one of the cardinal rules of Bourbon Street.
Oh no, you weren't peeing in the street.
That's exactly.
I knew exactly what you were doing.
And I knew not to do it, but you had to go, and there was no place to go, and it was crazy. And anyway, they basically put me in the back of the cop car, drove me, about 4 or 5 blocks, chewed me out. I was being an asshole, and they were, well, what if we came to Virginia and pissed out, in your backyard? I'm like, well, you'd be in a field. That'd be fine with me, you asshole, So they finally
smart mouth and
that was it
in the making.
I was troubled back then, but they just let me go and said, don't do it again. I guess they didn't want to process anybody at midnight on Y2K, for pissing on the side of the street, but.
Because the jail cell, by the way, from Bourbon Street.
Where did you go to school? I don't know if I've ever asked you. If you might have told me, and I forgot.
Campbell. I went to Campbell undergrad and law school. Yeah.
Okay,
7 long years in the creek.
You did, because I remember you said that because one of my buddies went to overseas with. I think that's where his brother went to law school. So
the jail cell from Bourbon Street is not a good jail cell. Let me tell you.
I'm thankful I didn't get to see that.
Yeah. Can consider yourself lucky.
But even after that, we had a buddy who, when that happened to me, was so trashed and got lost. Like, we went back home and we were trying to figure out what we're going to tell his mom. Like, we don't know what happened to him. And, he ends up coming back in about 7:00 in the morning and had this crazy story of hiding in a church down on, off Bourbon Street and getting chased. And
oh yeah, so Ninth Ward.
It was a wild time.
Don't step off a Bourbon Street. Watch out.
I've had some wild times in New Orleans. I think I've been there 4 times, and every time went down there once to see 311. That was the most tame. Twice to see Widespread Panic, and that was borderline deathly.
Unhealthy.
Yeah, and one time to see field musician Josh Grice and the phenomenal Harwell Grice band play. They were playing. It was like, we're just going to jump in a van and drive down just to spend a weekend in New Orleans and see them two bastards play music. So that was an epic trip too. That for its own reasons. I won't talk. But the other ones, man, I remember my buddy got in the back of a hippie van or whatever, and the guy's like, I've been having transmission trouble. Like, please don't break down to the Ninth Ward. And me and my buddy, Where'd you
break down? Ninth Ward.
I'll just say somebody spiked us that night with some.
Of course they did, Billy. Of course they did.
That was my excuse too.
Yeah, it was a dirty glass officer.
Those hurricanes you get on the side.
No, there wasn't a hurricane.
It was the bottom of the barrel officer. Yeah, of course it was.
No, somebody put something on the end of a cookie and didn't tell me about it. And
oops, good night, Billy.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and it was one of those deals, and we were in the back of the van.
Anyway, so 2025 is looking rosy.
You don't want to finish that story.
Yeah,
and it starts it starts with WTF.
Yeah, I won't say how the rest of the night. Maybe we'll save that for an after show at some point in time.
That is funny how 2025 the initials of the first few days is WTF.
Yeah, that's true.
What's that?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. WTF.
Oh dear.
All right, so what are y'all looking most forward to? One thing to happen in 2025 that would make you consider it a win? Like, what's one thing you hope to happen in 2025?
Well, I don't know about hoping to happen, but one that just seems to be building up is UFOs. We're going to get something this year. We've got to. And if nothing else, Trump's promising to release all this information. If he does nothing else but release anything we haven't had before, whether it's the JFK files, whether it's the UFO bit.
Something.
If we can get something that just says, oh, yeah, just confirms that these conspiracy theorists weren't insane.
The Epstein list. Something.
Any bit of it, then I think we're going to get that fuel we need to keep right on plugging along. So, especially with us getting our page back, that has just been an absolute shot in the air. We really didn't expect.
That's a huge.
I never
deal.
expected to get that page back. It's been a year and a half, and I thought I was fortunate that it hadn't been deleted from
existence
rosters. Yeah, and so, man,
that's brilliant.
That's huge for the show too, because now if we want to reach out to somebody, or we want to try and get a guest on, it's like, okay, now we're bringing this new 1 million followers.
Yeah, it's a monster.
We're saying, hey, come on, and you've got this kind of back, and we'll be sharing it on these platforms and stuff, which I'm excited about. The people will be able to get on here once we get those cameras up, which should be soon. Drew should be up here very soon with it. I need to get those ones from I think the cameras are coming very soon. I'm excited about that. But what about you, Simon? What do you want to see in 2025?
Me? I'll find out fairly shortly, actually. I'm going back to New York, New Jersey area. I think it's next week, actually. Mm-hmm. And hopefully get a cancer-free deal. That's all I hope for.
Hell yeah.
That's simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
I'm really hoping to buy some land. I've found a spot that I will be able to kind of do one of my dreams of living off grid. It's way back out in the middle of nowhere, and there's no water, there's no electricity lines, there's no nothing. There's a few trees with an amazing view, and that's where I want to be.
No neighbors.
No neighbors.
Love
hope of neighbors. I mean, that's
no hope of neighbors.
Yeah,
I mean, Drew has actually said if I buy that acre, he's going to buy the acre next to me because it's also for sale.
Where's that up here?
That's in Tiburon,
okay,
New Mexico. I went up there and looked at it several times, and I waiting until after the first of the year to call the realtors, and which the people that own it, I've already looked on. One of the greatest things when I moved up there was downloading the Onyx Hunt app. because that shows you property boundary lines, says who owns it, whether it's BLM land or this or that and the other. And the wild thing about Tiburon is a lot of that land has never been seen by the owners, or they went there when they were kids vacationing. A lot of that land is passed down over generations, and back there, that land is untouched. And,
Nice.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find stuff out there.
There's junipers. There's juniper trees that big on this land, and I don't know if you know anything about juniper trees, but it doesn't grow. Trees that big
takes a long
really
time.
old because it doesn't rain but so much there. So that's what I'm looking forward to for
that's exciting.
2024 or
What about-
2025.
What about you, Billy?
I just want to survive. To touch on what Chip said, like politically speaking, I would love to see like all these Epstein and Diddy Files released and stuff. Let's get these people locked up. If there's this disgusting stuff going on as they claim, then these people should be tried and jailed. And we really need to get back on track with the morality in this country. But I don't know. Personally, I would like, I don't know, just keep doing this and keep having fun and keep getting people. I hope this time next year we're at 200,000, on each platform, and we got people tuning in, and we've got cameras going, and we got little skits going, and we can go places and do live shows and promote local businesses. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough year, but I think it's going to be a good year. I think we just got to weather the storm. I just want this time next year for us to be doing this thing and it be a massive party, New Year's Eve up on the cabin, our biggest guests, we kick in and maybe have some music up here or something, a couple fires going to keep people warm, and we just kick off 2026 in grand style.
Well, on that note, we can't understate how important it is to come to things like LibertyCon, get up there and see us, interact with us, and talk about these things, get out there and listen to people talk, listen to Glenn Jacobs, the mayor, Kane, listen to these folks speak. I mean, for $25, that's the best $25 you'll spend.
Yeah. And you'll hang out with us. I mean, if you come find us, you can hang out with us if you want to. It ain't like we're
It ain't hard.
No.
If nothing else, you get to meet Amos. I mean, that alone is worth, you can't put a value on that, right?
Well, he needs to really start growing that beard out now, honestly. If nobody's mentioned it to him, then.
Well, he's not doing anything else.
I believe he is. I believe
he's
already.
working on it.
Yeah.
Grow a damn beard. He asked me. He did message me and ask me specifically when it was, and I thought he was just trying to make sure he'd have enough beard by the time we got there.
I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah, I think it was too. I really think he was just trying to plan.
So yeah, and be sure as far as LibertyCon is concerned as well, Spike will be up there. You Are the Power. Make sure you're checking them out and kind of supporting them, because they're going in these a lot of these Appalachian towns and these rural towns and stuff. They're sniffing out corruption, and they're finding the dirty deeds of what's going on.
He's going to have a busy year up there.
Yeah,
sure.
And and Spike's such a good guy too. He recently just kind of came to religion, like Jesus again or something, like a big moment or something. I don't know. He hadn't told the whole story. Maybe he'll come back on here in the near future. We've talked about getting him back up here. After that happened, I gave him a phone call and I said, "Man, I'm proud of you. I'm glad you found that discipline to to bring that back into your life." And so what he's doing with You Are the Power and going to these places and sniffing out corruption. And I always like to just remind the people around here, if you get too off your feet, he said anytime we request him, he will come up here and he will get in the crawl of every local politician that he needs to make it right in this town. So
we met somebody tonight who was talking about their school board and, pushing back against them. And so Spike can come in and help in that respect.
Yeah, we got him in our back pocket anytime we need him, just to keep everybody on their toes and make sure you're doing the honest thing. If start sniffing out the fact that there's some shady stuff going on, they'll bring in his organization and all that.
Just do the right thing.
Yeah, that's all we need. I don't want that to happen. This is our community.
Doing the right thing is actually the easiest thing you can do.
Yeah, imagine that.
Wow, what a concept.
Yeah. Who else we're forgetting? So obviously go check out Chip at Being Libertarian. All 3 platforms.
Yep, we got the original page back at Being Libertarian now, so I don't, it's nothing crazy. It's just at Being Libertarian. But on X, we're at Being Libertarian, and then Instagram, Being a Libertarian. But check us out, any of those. Also, the Appalachian Podcast, Facebook page, X page, and also being Appalachian, which has been getting some traction lately as well.
Yeah, we're trying to turn that into something. We're just kind of building things over there and getting it set up for it. But hopefully, once we get things going, we'll get a little side project. We've talked about it a couple of times before. So, also, Rife Technology, big thanks to Matthew and all he's done for us.
Every time.
Make sure you're checking him out and giving him a follow and buying into what he's doing, at least giving an opportunity, because we've seen positive results on our end. So, Rocky Mountain Burger Company, Rocky Mountain Smokehouse, all these people have been a big contributor over the years and helped us out and in the good times. We're going on like 4 years of doing this show now, though, so a lot of people have helped along the way. Safe Side Tactical, I wish those guys would answer my emails or phone calls when I call them and tell them to come over here and hang out because, I hadn't forgot about it. And so if you see them or use their product, go tell them you heard about them from here. I mean,
solid company to be doing business with. Absolutely, no doubt about it.
Good people.
Solid.
What's Dennis's food truck?
The Jamaican Grill.
Jamaican Grill.
Yeah.
Countryman, is it?
Yep.
Countryman
Jamaican
Grill LLC.
There we go.
Yeah, so go give him a follow on Facebook or whatever, and then find out where he's going to be at. Because if he's going to be in town, he's going to be up in the sticks, wherever he's at. Yeah, go make sure you're checking him out.
Everything Irie man, well.
I kind of want to shout out to a few places out in Tiburon, the High Country Bar and Grill. I think it's the High Country, the mountain. It's the only bar in town, but it's the High Country. They have a 9-hole golf course.
The bar does?
Yes, they have a 9-hole.
So you just got to do it twice, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Willow
with
Creek.
a pit stop in the middle.
I couldn't get it.
Oh, how
first,
convenient!
Yeah, it's a really, really cool place. I mean, you got to watch out for the elk sometimes when you're playing.
Nice.
There are elk sometimes will be meandering out on the golf course. A little Tiburon Mountain Market, the Busy Bee convenience store. What else?
You local yokel.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a local bloody yokel.
And Connie's Pizza.
That's
our little cafe, all scratch made food. Some of the best food I've ever eaten. I've ate a lot of fried okra, and I've never had any okra like Connie's.
Well done, Connie.
Yeah, man. Steal the recipe, bring it north.
Yeah, bring it east.
If I could, I would. Well, she's originally from South Carolina.
There it is.
Go.
There it
That's
is.
how it's
The low country. The low country.
The thing about Tiburon is there's not many people that are actually from there. They for some reason end up there on vacation or something and are hunting and or hear about it from somebody. And then once they get there, they're like, this is kind of where I want to be.
Yeah.
What's that rugged
213 miles of roads in 10,000 acres. And you make sure you got 4-wheel drive.
Well, getting out of the rural or getting out of the urban settings rather is hot right now. So I think you're probably in a hot spot that hadn't been discovered. Everybody wants that rugged experience right now. It sounds perfect for it.
I agree. So other than that, patreon.com/GoodOnTap to support us. You can do it on X as well. Just become a subscriber. The tab is right up there. Patreon tab is up there as well on my X bio.
For 2025,
yes.
Revert to your constitution. It's about the pursuit of happiness.
Agreed. Well, on that, everybody, we thank you for a wonderful 2024, and we all hope you have a blessed 2025. And we'll be back. We got some awesome guests lined up here in the very near future. So keep following us, keep supporting us. We appreciate every one of y'all, and we'll see you next week.
Have a happy new year.
Bye, guys.
Was born in the dead heat of the summer, raised on a mountainside by a deadhead father and mother. A little hippie and a little southern, just what I needed so bad, but never saw it coming. She liked to get high, little sweet, little shy, like a muscadine wine. She liked to get high. for a ride one summer. She said I'd never forget. She blew my mind about 3 or 4 times. I ain't never been the same since. She liked to get high, a little sweet, a little shy. Patchouli scent, a warm embrace and a gypsy scent, a stiff drink and a pinch hit, a memory Lord I haven't seen. She liked to get a little sweet, a little shy, like a muscadine wine. She liked to get high.